Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to my new series, or the first episode of my new series, Celebrity Natal Charts. And so, this is an attempt to give you a sample of what you can expect in getting your own personalized natal chart reading from me, and what that would sound like, what type of things I analyze, what do I look at. So, today we're going to be looking at Justin Bieber's natal chart because he is the quintessence of being a Pisces. So we're gonna do a Pisces celebrity, we're gonna do an Aquarian celebrity, and work our way throughout the zodiac. And let's get into it. So we're pretending here, that you as a listener, you are Justin Bieber or whoever, and this is what you would expect in your natal chart reading. And so grab it something to drink. I'm going to be talking for a while. Get comfortable. But then also, if you don't give a hoot about Justin Bieber and you have a rising Scorpio, this reading will probably elucidate a lot of questions that you're having about your own natal chart. And although your natal chart may not be exactly similar to his, the way that I read natal charts is intuitive. So because your birth information might be wrong, it might have been manipulated in the hospital. Birth chart information is an extreme first world luxury that a lot of people don't understand that. And it is my philosophy that astrological energies are not laser beams. They are saison that season the stew that is you. Okay? So, you might be a Sun Pisces, but you have a Venus Aquarius and a Mars in Libra, and that's just another turnip or carrot that's being thrown into the pot that is you, yourself. So, because backdoor brag, as I know that a lot of these free online celebrity natal chart things actually don't have the right information, people sometimes manipulate or lie for marketing purposes. Like a lot of people born under the sign of Cancer will tell you they're a Leo because it's like more attractive. You know, uh, a 40-year-old man may not like to identify as a Virgo any longer. So, he might just like lie and tell people that he's a Libra because it sounds like lawyer. Alrighty, so don't give a fuck about how you read and what Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology or tropical astrology, how you do it. This is Saison astrology. This is how I do it. Tarot Bay astrology. Because even looking at Justin Bieber's natal chart, it really does seem like he's on, as a Scorpio rising, he's like on the last degree of Scorpio. But I look at equal houses. So he has a first house in Scorpio with Jupiter, Pluto, and I believe that's Lilith, if I'm reading these glyphs correctly, which, sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm wrong, not perfect. So, and I personally know a lot about the trials and tribulations and achievements of the rising Scorpio because, hey, I'm a rising Scorpio too, also with the sun in Pisces. So, but the one thing that I do know about the rising Scorpio, just to talk about like tabloid, to get a little TMZ energy in here as well, is that people born under rising Scorpio tend to gravitate towards wealthier business partners or love interest. So, I might be mean, I might be a jerk or whatever, but I'm like, as inappropriate as it is and was, I'm pretty sure Justin Bieber was like a consenting boyfriend to P. Diddy because he is a Sun Scorpio, but he looks like a Taurus, especially his forehead looks like a Taurus. So even if not him, that he naturally has a proclivity to gravitate towards wealthier people, especially being a singer or entertainer. You need to find funding to fund your art, right? And I think that he did a really good job of doing that, despite all the allegations and the validity of them, most likely. So, okay, so what does that mean? First house in Scorpio means that you probably look a lot like a Muppet. Like you have really thick eyebrows, and very intense eyes. That tends to be the focus of the rising Scorpio. They do best. So this is me walking through the houses. So rising Scorpio, thick eyebrows, intense, probably obsessed with death. And I don't know her sign, which I probably should, but I think her name is Nicole, and she's like the lead singer of the band Morning Wood. And she, before her band had like popularity in like maybe like 2012 or 2006, whatever it was, she was on Oprah for being obsessed with death. So she gave like really hardcore Scorpio, rising Scorpio energy. Um, and JB, maybe not in his music, maybe not in his public life, but maybe more so privately, he might have an obsession with death and dying and people passing, which is a very common thing for Pisces because we're very connected. We're uh, like the I say that we're the sign of the savior, but we're like the celestial doorman. So as people are transmuting or transferring from one state of existence to the next, Pisces is the one who opens the door for them to go to that next life. So it probably does give us some type of death obsession. So you would see Pisces, they like if this were the King Arthur's court, they'd probably be like the executioner, um, funeral director, um, psychic medium, just things that have to deal with death. So that's him. And I don't know, like we don't know like what his parents do or what his grandparents do. It could have been some type of like mortuary science or whatever. But then, so moving to the second house, which he has in Sagittarius, which he's very close to having a Sagittarius rising, but we're doing equal houses right now. Um, so my interpretation of rising Scorpio with Sagittarius in the second house is that being competitive or entering into competitions will help you make money. And I guess that this reading would be a little bit more comprehensive if I actually was a super fan of Justin Bieber and I knew more about his life and how he rose to fame and things like that, but I don't. But so this says that so whether he did this or not, like, going on a show like American Idol or Star Search or entering some type of competition with a gigantic cash prize is would have been a really good avenue for him. Also, just being competitive. So I don't really know if there's an artist that is comparable to him that I'm aware of, like maybe Aaron Carter or something like that. But it's good for him to be competitive against his competitors because it'll do well for him financially. His communication style with the third house in Capricorn, and we have Neptune, and I'm not good at glyphs. I'm not as like it's just like Pokemon all over again. I was like, I swear I know all these. So let's figure this out. This is Uranus, I believe. Neptune and Uranus and Capricorn. So he's probably sad a lot, very isolated, talks a lot about business. So, like I said, maybe not on his, I don't know, maybe not on in his music or in his public life, but privately, he's probably talking a lot about death, probably talking a lot about the trajectory of his career, um, how to exceed boundaries, how to exceed limits, or maybe how to go over his spending limit. I also want to dial it back to the first house in Scorpio because we have some planets there like Jupiter, Lilith, and Pluto. So this talks about like the really intense look that he might have in his eyes. Lilith talks about a connection to like a strained connection to maybe like a stepmother or step grandmother or like step family members, step siblings. But also, with Jupiter in the first house, this says that he's very lucky and fortunate for the way that he looks. And I think we can agree he's handsome. So he's like very fortunate in the looks department. With the second house in Sagittarius, and there not being really any placements there or any planets there, this just says very plainly to me that like entering competitions and being competitive will bode well for him financially. He could even become like a host on one of those like singing competition shows, and that's another way that being competitive in competitions could do well for him. Also, maybe could have had a career as an athlete as well. And then we talked about the third house's communication style. He likes to talk about business. And I remember watching KRS channel or KHS channel. He's like a Vedic astrologer, and he was talking about having Capricorn in the third house, and he was saying that these people have a not unnatural but like intense connection to their mother's sisters. So his mom might have a lot of sisters. Uh, they may not have really been there for him, and that might be why this they might not talk to him or something like that. And that's something that's like on his mind a lot, and it might be something that he talks about a lot. The third house, I say it's like your NPC house, where it's like if you were one of those like TikTok NPCs, what would you talk about all the time? And for him, it'd be talking about Capricorn things, so business, capitalism, but also about like abuse, limitations, addiction, envy, maybe him feeling like a lot of envious energy from his mom and dad, probably very similar to like what Lindsay Lohan went through. And then his fourth house, we have Aquarius. So Aquarius in the fourth house says very plainly to me that most likely you'll go live with your friends. You'll live in a very like tech smart home. But it also says like there's a lot of like discomfort in the home, a lot of awkwardness, not necessarily instability, but like it's a weird house. Like, you might live at a zoo or in a lighthouse or at an abandoned school or something and like refurbish it. It's always like a weird house. The house might be shaped like a pineapple, like SpongeBob or something like that. A very eccentric, eclectic home. And then with Venus and Mars, who also has Venus and Mars in Aquarius. Let me double check that. Venus, Mars. Okay, well, so this says that his Venus is actually in. Oh, because I'm looking at the wrong glyph. That's why. I think I know all the Pokemon. I think I know all the astrology and planet glyphs, but here we are. We're learning and we're getting our education back, right? So he does not have Venus in Aquarius. I'm so sorry. He has Mercury in Aquarius, actually born with Mercury in retrograde in Aquarius. So he might have actually had a lot of difficulty speaking at a young age. Even at ages like 23 and 31, he might have a lot of difficulty talking about like feeling lonely, not having friends. Um, Difficulty like and then when he finally gets friends has a difficulty like not talking about them all the time or talking poorly about them. I see like it's funny, you know what I mean? It's really funny to see that this person who's a singer has Mercury in Aquarius and it's retrograde. So it's like maybe he was a late bloomer, maybe he didn't start speaking until he was a lot older. um or maybe he didn't start walking or moving around until he was a lot older. I sort of didn't walk. Um, I was like a late walker, so maybe that was something that we have in common. Who knows? Um, but yes, so he has Mercury and Mars in the fourth house in Aquarius. So I guess there's a lot of things where it's like he just sort of talks to people. They let him stay where he wants. Um, and I don't know, like I don't know all the tabloid and the all the TMZ of his life, but what his chart is saying to me in this chart from astrocharts.com is saying that he was very his to have whoever his father is and was, he's very lucky to have him. His mother, although they speak a lot, I think that there's a lot of discomfort in between the relationship between him and his mother, and a lot of anger as well. And then in his fourth house of Pisces, where his sun is Sun, Saturn, and Venus. So there's like a lot of start and go with him. There's a lot of discomfort around friendships and relationships. He is very uncomfortable with the way that he looks. The world might be caught up in his looks, but he might be having this feeling like, am I going to look like Jim Carrey when I'm 40 type of thing. But I think he's holding up in there. And so yeah, so like the way that he looks causes a lot. I mean, also the fact that like his business or his industry is not solely, but like partially based on his appearance. So he might be having like a Walter Mercado where it's like he feels disturbed looking at the older photos of himself because the younger ones look better, or vice versa. Like he could be looking at his old 2010 Justin Bieber haircut and be like, oh God, like why did I have that? You know? He's obsessed with his looks a little bit, and it makes him sad. Pisces in the fourth house. And then also perhaps the people that he is in relationships with, especially with this like gaslighting Saturn Capricorn energy in his fifth house. Um, there could be people who are like telling him that he's not very good at whatever it is that he's doing. It's almost like having a dog who's not doing anything and telling them that they're a bad boy. Oh, and maybe it could be somebody from Bad Boy Records, you know? There's so much scandal with him. Uh, so scandalous. Uh, and Sun in Pisces, so at his soul in his core, he's like sad and miserable. And Venus in Pisces. Venus in Pisces, I think, is a lot more of an auspicious positioning than Venus in Aquarius. Um, it's like his mobility and his ability to go out and take action is limited, but his powers of attraction and manifestation, like he might not be really good at driving. He might have a lot. I think he used to get like DUIs all the time, so maybe that's a big thing that's still reoccurring throughout his life. But it's like his lack of mobility, and then but there's a lot of people who love and care for him, and it might make him sad because he might be very aware that the love is somewhat like superficial. Six. So we have the sixth house in Aries. This says to me that there's a lot of anger around his professional life, his work and career and education and school. But also it says to me that when it comes to his health, he might have like some issues with his head. And I mean, like everybody gets acne every once in a while, I guess. But I guess like when, he gets a zit or a pimple, you might be like, oh man, like I wish I could call out of work today. I got a pimple, you know what I mean? Uh, I think for him, he's like, he gets a pimple and he's like, is my career over? you know? Which I don't think that would end it, but never know. Six Aries. Okay, and then his seventh house in Taurus. So this is the house that I was talking about, where like the rich old man or the rich old men come into play. The sugar daddy, sugar baby dynamic of the rising Scorpio in the seventh house of Taurus. Um, so what that means is that he's typically looking for a very wealthy, rich partner, whether if that's in business or in love. And in his eighth house of Gemini, we have so eighth house of Gemini actually reiterates or reaffirms or strengthens this not necessarily like death obsessed energy, but maybe he's into star signs and astrology and occult magic. Because so as I was like third house in Capricorn, he's always talking about business. Um, Eighth house in Gemini, he is also always talking about occultism. So either astrology, tarot, numerology, God, something like something spiritual. He's always talking about it. Won't shut up about it. Death though, but it's also like connected to death. He might be like a lot of Pisces are really big fans of reincarnation and the concept of reincarnation. So he probably talks about that a lot, like what he wants to reincarnate into. And then the ninth house of Cancer, so or the ninth house in Cancer, Cancer in his ninth house. This says to me that yeah, like a lot of he has a lot of anger about his education. I think like he wanted to go to a more proper like higher education like college. He wanted to go to like a nicer college, and and maybe he blames his mother for stopping him from being able to do that. Uh, but this ninth house in Cancer is also like he blames his mom for his irregular education or unconventional education, but he also learned a lot from her, and or like learned everything from her. She might have went to college and like taught him a thing or two. And then so we have the 10th house in Leo. So the 10th house in Leo talks about his fame, his um, his prominence in pop culture, that it was and is his destiny to be famous, and his 11th house in Virgo. So he has Chiron in his 11th house of Virgo retrograde. Pardon me, pardon my French. Let me double check these glyphs that I've been wrong about. Oh no, so he does not have Lilith in his first house. He has his North Node in his first house. My bad. My bad. And then Mercury, yeah, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay, cool. We know things. Uranus. All right, look at us. Look at us being astrological. Okay, so he does not have Lilith in his first house. He has his North Node in his first house. My bad. But he has, we were talking about, he has Chiron and Virgo retrograde. So I don't know, Chiron and Virgo retrograde actually sounds kind of good, but off the cuff, what this says to me is that he has the ability to heal other people in certain ways, like with I guess help them. He can like help other people pay to go to school. He can like open up his own school. He could open up a hospital if he wanted to. Perhaps he didn't have a lot of doctor or dentist appointments when he was a kid, and that kind of like bums him out a little bit. And he can now rectify that in other people's lives, but maybe you can't travel in time and go be his own parent, as we all probably would like to do. But the thing about Chiron, Virgo, 11th house, it also says to me like he he might have like this like really strange ability to make other people friends. So it's like if there's three people in a room and it's like, you know, Justin Bieber, Terry and Tweety, you know, whoever the hell, um, then he has the ability to make them really good friends while he'll still feel isolated and alone. So Chiron is like, you know, he might be good at healing people's friendships, helping people make amends. Maybe it's through his music, like bringing people together. But it's in a way that's it's that he can't heal himself in, and that's Chiron's whole arc. Um, that's like Chiron's whole thing. So you know, if you had Chiron in your fourth house, or like Chiron in Cancer or something, it's like you're very loving and nurturing and maternal, but you have difficulty receiving that energy in your own life. Like, you know, you might have a problem, like, you know, your mom might have abandoned you or neglected you, and now you're like, I'm never going to let another kid or cat or whatever go abandoned and neglected, which is great, you know, heal the planet. But it's something that you can't heal within yourself because you can't like go back in time and make your mom a better mother, unfortunately. And so I probably, as a equal house reader, should have probably pulled up an equal house chart. But you know, my gay audacity is like I will make everything work. Um, but so his 12th house is in Libra, which I guess he also has a Libra moon. Look at this. Yeah, moon in Libra. Cool. So he has a 12th house in Libra and a Libra moon. This, on the other hand, so a lot of the things in his chart are very auspicious. This Jupiter in the first house in Scorpio, North Node in Scorpio. So you know he's a singer now, but maybe he'll like play Gomez in a Adams Family movie or Lurch or something. Very competitive around money, or being into competitions or being competitive will help him with his money. Um, Overcoming his limitations with speech. He might have gone to speech therapy when he was a child, might have had like a lisp or something. You know, talking to his friends, talking about his friends, fighting his friends. That Mars in the fourth house might be why he has a difficulty making friends or keeping friends. The Capricorn or the Saturn in his fifth house is a little bit tricky, a little bit difficult. Um, because there's talks about limitations around his soul and his identity. But everything else is actually like very bright and shiny. But this 12th house in Libra with the moon also being in Libra. So the moon loves the 12th house. The moon is a lover of the 12th house. Libra, on the other hand, does not love the 12th house. It says that his relationships will make him miserable. So it's like, for what, and maybe like for whatever reason, it's like, he makes friends with somebody, he vibes with them really well. They ask him for $12,000 so that they can finish going to college, a college that he maybe wanted to go to and was not able to attend or to finish. I don't know, he might have gone to college, I don't even know, but like for whatever reason, maybe he didn't go to the school that he wanted to go to. And then his emotions about these feelings of misery and isolation and asylum are dictated by the movements of the moon. And the moon is like is the closest, uh, astrological body, or, astrological satellite to us. Probably the next one being like Venus or Mars. Um, and, the moon goes back and forth a lot. So he has a lot of like, almost like everybody he's ever loved is like in a washing machine or something, and just like spinning around in his mind, throughout the weeks of that the moon moves. So it's almost like, if the moon is in Taurus, which I think it will be very soon, he's in love with the Taurus. When the moon is in Pisces, he's in love with the Pisces. When the moon is in Libra, he's in love with the Libra. And he does kind of have like this like kind of Labrador energy. So that's that. And so that's like how I see it. And I guess like if we dial it back to his fifth house, so the fifth house is typically where I look at to figure out like what are your obstacles in life. You know what I mean? Especially if you're getting your own personal natal chart reading, it's like, what do you have to work on? Like, what can you take away from this reading, and what homework can you do? Um, and the answer for that is, so his obstacle is his soul. So that's like the thing too, because like he's like all involved in Hollywood, and we talk about the Illuminati and cabals and stuff here on this channel. So there's some type of contention with his soul, his sun sign. So that's like a huge obstacle for him. And a lot of times Pisces do have very strong religious beliefs, and they tend to try them, or people like, if you're vegetarian or something, and people are around you, they might try to trick you into eating bacon, you know what I mean? So it's like whatever is going on with his soul, I think like there's been a lot of like temptation, and that's a huge obstacle in his life, and it causes issues in his love life, and limitations, like I said. uh, Limitations, and also lamentations, like feeling lament, or like being lamentful, if that's a word. Uh, okay, and then what is supposed to help him or heal him overcome these obstacles is his sixth house of Aries, which is like being angry, maybe being a father, maybe adopting a more adult persona. No more yummy and baby, 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 and maybe having little Nas X sitting on his lap calling him daddy, or Troye Sivan, or whatever he's into. But I know like the whole like lavender energy in Hollywood, it's like it's to project sales, because you can't do concerts in Dubai or in other conservative places if you're the rainbow flag, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's typically what I will analyze in a natal chart reading video. I just walk through the houses. I tell you how your chart makes me feel, stories or whatever, and other interpretations that I have looked at. And then if you get like more readings, I can dive in deeper. We can talk about squares, sextiles, and conjunctions, and things like that. Um, I mean, the North Node is something that I don't know much about, so it's something that I don't normally talk about. Chiron, I know a lot about Chiron, so we talk about Chiron a lot here. The ascendant, obviously. And that's kind of the thing about natal chart readings and astrology, where it's like, if you have an astrologer who is like, I am the end all be all, I know everything about everyone, um, that's impossible. And a lot of people are in different places in their astrological journeys. And for me, in my practice, as I'm constantly encouraging other people to offer natal chart readings or to do tarot readings or tea leaves or pendulums or whatever it might be, um, you only have to share, you can only share what you know, and you only have to share what you know. So if you don't know what, what Mars in Aquarius means, you don't have to share that in your reading. You can just be like, okay, yeah, he's Mars in Aquarius, probably like angry at his friends. Let's keep it trucking. Because through you doing readings for other people, through even myself doing these reading videos, I'm sharpening my sword. I'm sharpening uh, my intellect, my vocabulary, and my own understanding of astrology as it gets stronger all the time, every day. Because we are masterpieces in masterpieces in motion or masterpieces in progress. Like, you won't really have a full synopsis or collection of how successful or how much of a failure you were in life until sort of it's over. It's like an arc, right? Like, if John Ritter would have passed before he did those Problem Child movies or Eight is Enough, then he probably would have been labeled as a failure, having only done Three's Company and not much else. So you don't really know until you go. All right, so that's such a positive message to exit on. And thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you guys. I really hope that I continue and keep up with this series because this was fun. And I will hopefully see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.